3, 4, 5. We are now calling the meeting of the Belmond Klemme Community School District to order. It's a regular meeting for Thursday. This happens to be the 19th of September, 2024. And I call it to order and ask for a roll call.
Gary Berkland.
Here.
Brian Meyer. Joel Boozman.
Here.
Rick McDaniel. Michelle Murphy. Here. Kevin Ring.
Here.
Jim Swenson.
Here. I determined that with 5 of us present, we have a quorum. And next we will welcome visitors. Welcome all. We do have one visitor who would like to speak to us tonight. You're up, Brad.
Okay, where do I go?
Right there. That's a good spot.
Right up front?
Right by the owl there.
All right, thank you, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Very good, good. I have some notes here. I hope I can read them. I know I don't have much time, so I might be jumping around, but I want to thank everybody. I'm here to talk about the track conversation that's going to happen later on in the evening. But I come to you guys as a citizen taxpayer, parent of a freshman, business owner, former athlete, and for some of you that don't know, I coached here for about 2 decades, mainly in track and field, but also in football and cross country. And I talk about the 6, possibly 8-lane track. I may have more passion about this project than most of you, anybody else you know. I really do care about this. I'm 100% in favor of us upgrading to an 8-lane track right here, right now. This is a 30-year decision. Because when you replace that sub base, that's probably the next time you'll have a conversation like that. So you're going to impact generations. My son, who's 14, next time we'll be revisited, will be 44. And maybe that's when we'll talk about this again. But he has his own kids on the track. I know most of us would like to go to 8-lane, and because of a few hurdles, maybe it won't happen. Now, I understand if it's financial, I get it. But it doesn't quite sound like that's the deal. If we do go 8-lane track, obviously we would not have to do anything with the football field. The crown stays away the same way. Everything's fine. If we move, go 8-lane track, you don't have to get into the light poles. Everything's right there unless you want to upgrade that at the same time. But yes, there are a few things I've heard that are problems. Okay. First of all, is we would have to remove some of the cement in the sidewalk that we put in a few years ago. If we do that, that's not a mistake we're going to make now. That's a mistake we made 5 years ago. We shouldn't have done it the way we did. But if we want to let that hold us back, so be it. The other part is sliding back the current bleachers. And I don't know if any of you have seen how those are structured. And I do have some visuals here. I'm just going to hand around and start going if that's okay. I'm trying to hurry here. Sliding the bleachers back is very, very easy. They're put together in 8-foot sections by simple bolts. So if we want to move them back 8 feet at a time, we could. They're set on 18 by 18-inch pads. All we'd have to do is put a row of pads on the back side. There's 13 pads, 18 by 18 inches. Just have to slide it back. It'll put us back 10 feet from our current situation. It would solve a lot of situations there. Then it comes to the press box, which is a big deal. As we all know from the last several years, Booster Club, Gridiron has talked for years and years and years about changing it, improving it, taking it down. We all know it's just basically a big shed up on top of stilts. We put lipstick on a pig on that thing for years. It might be a good opportunity to replace that at the same time. I don't want us to be held back, always being a 6-lane track. You know, I just went up to North Union, watched our football team play. I was at Armstrong, a town of 843 people. Beautiful 8-lane track. West Hancock just redid theirs, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Garner has 8 lanes, so why would we pigeonhole ourselves being that small school with that 6-lane track? Doesn't make any sense. This is a 30-year decision. 6-lane would be a huge mistake in my mind. We've done 3 facility improvements since I've been here. We've done one in the early 2000s, about 10 years ago, and then again about 5 years ago when we resurfaced and when we blocked ourselves with the sidewalk. If we go 8-lane, it will bring more people to this community through. We can host districts, bigger track meets, everything else that comes with it. That impacts BK, our community, our business district, our kids, Booster Club, because track meets pull in a ton of money. And just on that, I know Forest City doesn't come here anymore because our track meet wasn't big enough. Clear Lake doesn't come here anymore because we weren't big enough. We go to their meets, but they won't come to ours because we have a 6-lane track. Everybody in this, you know, it's in the best interest of Belmond. And if there is anything I can do, if I can volunteer and help, I hope that you guys put together a committee. I hope you talk about this. If I have to go to the community and show you the community support for 8-lane track, I will do that. But I'm telling you right now, I think this is a once in a 30-year decision, because that would be the next time that sub base would be looked at. And if the sub base isn't going to get replaced, we're right up against the fence right now. So are those fences and that sidewalk going to be removed anyway? Because they got to get to do the work right there. So if that sidewalk is an issue, so be it. We got to get it out of there. We'll report it. It was a taxpayer mistake 5, 6 years ago. Not now. Now's when you make the right decision, put anything track. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, we will keep it in mind. This is all ahead of us. It's not.
Yep.
It's-
No decisions have been made.
But I want to get ahead of it, and I hope you all consider it.
I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Brad, would you mind if I called you and had you come in and visit with me
Love it.
more about it?
Absolutely.
Okay, next, do we have any communications from the public? Any from you? Moving on, let's rise and we'll say the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, I need a motion to approve our agenda. You should have it in front of you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Michelle, do I have a second? James, any discussion, any changes? If not, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on to the consent items. We have A through H. Any comments, questions about any of those items under consent? If not, I need a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Joel, do I have a second? James. Now, any further discussion on any of the items? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Moving on. Reports, the school improvement student data report. We're all looking forward to this with bated breath. Oh, who's up first?
Okay, I'm gonna go first.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna try.
That's right, it's your turn tonight.
Trish, I might, oh, never mind. If I can connect on the. There we go. So we're in business. Okay, so I took some time with our staff over at Jacobson at the beginning of the school year during pre-service week to kind of revisit the data that I'm sure that they took a peek at in the spring before I joined. And not because obviously your data doesn't change over the summer, but for twofold, right? Two purposes. We wanted to make sure that data is fresh in our mind and serves as a motivator throughout the year. But then we also piggybacked that conversation with determining some of the goals and creating corresponding action plans. And so the data that I'll show you here in just a second is the data that we went over as a staff. And what I facilitated was just the bird's eye view of data. And then I gave them time to dig in specifically and more time-wise. Because if you're at all familiar with student data, you know that it could take you hours and hours and you still wouldn't digest everything. And so what I'll share with you right now is truly the 30,000 foot bird's eye view, okay? And I'll break it down into literacy, math, and then the kind of the limited kind of climate, culture, or behavior data that we might have. And so data comes in different ways. A lot of what we will see here is stuff that comes through our required state assessments, whether they are the screeners that we do through FastBridge, which we do 3 times a year, or the data that that is provided through those yearly ISAS assessments that everybody takes across the state for our annual progress reports. So this right here is just a screenshot of where we are at in terms of literacy proficiencies as determined or as kind of calculated through those literacy fast bridge screeners. Okay, so this was the data as of last spring. And so hopefully you can kind of see it, but it breaks it down by grade level. The expectation would be that we're at about 80% proficiency in each grade level. As you can see, we're not there yet. Okay, but a big yet. We're going to move towards that, and our staff are highly motivated to get there. And I'll share with you in a little bit kind of what they're hoping to accomplish here. Yeah, we're not where we want to be yet. So that's literacy as measured through fast bridge screeners. This one's a little bit harder to kind of follow. I'll show you one more example of a way we can view it, but this is the ISASP assessment that's given once a year, usually around April. And 3rd through 6th take this assessment. So each grade level has a different color band. Now I want to call out that if you track, like green is the 3rd grade band, and then the years go across the bottom from 2021 through 2024 is what I chose to report or take a peek at. Those are going to be different cohorts of kids, right? Because 3rd grade this year is going to have a different cohort of kids next year. But it's always interesting to take a peek at where that grade level is every year. So again, our proficiencies right now are kind of ranging between 42 and 70, kind of just depending on the grade level. And you can see in general, our trajectories aren't necessarily upwards, they're fairly flatlined. So this is not the same cohorts. This next slide is the same cohort. And because it's 3rd through 6th grade that takes this assessment yearly, really we can only track our current 5th graders and our current 6th graders, right? So that's why you see 2 grade level bands. So our cohort of our current 5th graders actually slid down from 52 down to a 45. Not a massive slide, but not the direction we want. And our 6th grade cohort right now is kind of remaining stable at right around 40. Okay, so it's just a different way to view that same data. I'm going to do the same thing for math. Again, this is from our FastBridge screening assessment in the spring. And this also then just breaks it down by grade level. Our statewide goal remains at 80%. I'll just pause here for just a sec. And then the next one will also be where we were at for math proficiency across the years. So again, these are different cohorts of kids, but analyzing it by grade level. Fairly similar in terms of numbers from math to literacy. Fairly stable. You'll see that current 5th grade had quite a swing. Went from about a 33 up to a 65, then back down to a 35. And then again, the next slide that I'll show you is then going to analyze it by the same cohort of kids. So our current 5th grade is the green shorter band. You can see they remained stable from year to year. And our current 6th grade kind of went down. That's not the direction that we would prefer, but that's our reality. Okay. So then with that, this assessment, from the best of our understanding, we just rolled out recently or shared recently that this specific assessment, conditions for learning, will no longer be required by the state. I don't know that we haven't had internal conversations about whether we'll continue that or not just yet. But conditions for learning is ultimately a way that we can measure the pulse on the student viewpoint and perception of the climate and culture in the building. So it measures things like student-to-student relationships, it measures student-to-teacher relationships, it measures how safe they feel in their environment and things of that nature. To be fully honest with you, I think that I speculate as to one of the reasons why the conditions for learning survey may not be required moving forward is because the way that it was scored, I believe there's 10 questions in a bucket, okay? And if a student responds negatively to one of those questions in that group of 10, then it calculated it as all negative. And so, and I'm sure the mathematicians and the data people behind it, it does probably make some sort of sense, but to those of us in schools, it didn't feel right. And so I think there was a lot of statewide conversation about that. But nonetheless, it's still an important data point that is accessible to us right now from last spring. So I did put this in front of staff just to take a peek. And it just breaks it down from all students to by different categories. So EL, pre-reduced, Hispanic, and white. Generally speaking, with this measure, our climate culture from the perspective of kids is slightly below state average. I wouldn't say massively discrepant, just slightly below. So then with that data, I asked our staff to think about what made the most sense when we're thinking about where do we envision, where do we want our building to be a year from now, okay? And I let them drive the bus. I was pretty hands-off on it. After I gave them the bird's eye view, they dug into data, then they created their goals together. They ultimately selected 4 goals, so I'll flip it here in just a second. But what I said the type was, we have to have an academic goal, and we have to have some sort of climate culture goal, because those are in direct alignment with what the board and Jen have determined, and so we're in alignment with that. They decided that they are hungry and they want to move the needle for kids in all of these areas, so they chose to create 4 goals, which wasn't the requirement, but they chose to create a math goal, a reading goal, a climate and culture goal for students, and also a climate culture goal for the adults, because those are 2 very different things, right? When our staff come into the building, we want them to have good experiences. We want them to stay motivated and feel happy and safe and content at work. We also want the same experience for our kiddos. And so they chose to do 4 different goals. And with these goals also, they have created a specific action plan, which I'm happy to share with you all. I don't know that we have time tonight to go through it, but a specific action plan to not just put a goal on a paper, but to pinpoint exactly how it is they're going to move the needle in that. And this is slightly fluid. So as they are working, so they also decided, you know what, this feels like a logical connection to just, I'm gonna be on the math committee this year because I'm gonna champion this math goal. So they split up and all of the teachers are in a committee and they're all championing one of those goals through. They're meeting at least once a month and they're having conversations and taking care of tasks outside of those meetings. So I am really excited because, to be honest with you, they were hungry to do it. And I really think that we're gonna move it forward. So they would like to move our math proficiency at least 10% from this past spring to next spring. And again, that's a little fluid. I've heard conversation like, if we knock this out of the park by winter, we're moving this up. And same with literacy. We are currently screening right now. So our scores for the fall are not finished. They want to take the fall data points and then increase that by at least 10 next year. And then climate and culture for the kids. This would include PBIS work. Their goal right now is students can form positive relationships with peers. I think that data shook out on that conditions for learning component that I just talked about a little bit. And then for adults can form positive relationships with their colleagues. So again, there's an action plan to go with each of those goal areas. What questions do you have?
I don't have a question, but to comment, I like that they're setting attainable goals so they possibly
Yes.
can just
Yep.
even blow past those goals. And I think that's important for
Yes.
them to not say, we're gonna improve by 50% and whatever, I think the smaller goals and steps are important.
Yep.
Because then they see the success and that encourages them to continue.
Yeah, because our numbers are lower right now, and it can feel a little defeating.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And even just, I think it was yesterday, the literacy team met was, maybe not yesterday. And they were trying to land on their number because they were revamping it from what they had done in August. And they were a little bit in a standstill, and I just kind of put the question out, well, how many kids would you want to move that needle for that you felt really good if by this time next year you moved them? And somebody said, all of them. And that's what they want. They want to move all of them.
Right, absolutely.
But there's, a level of baby stepping and ability.
Not to get too deep in the weeds, but the action plan, I think, needs constant monitoring by someone. And so I don't care what that action plan looks like at this point, because they're gonna develop that or have developed that, and they're the ones that are gonna have to, somebody's got to read that to see if they're attaining them by using the action plan, or whether the action plan needs to be modified. Do you feel comfortable with the action plans that they have developed?
Yeah, I think they're a good start, and they know that they're a work in progress,
Okay.
and they just had again their second meetings. I think there's one more next week, but recently, and so they continue to add and build additional action steps, and they've taken ownership of it, and they're hungry to move it.
One of the comment in the initial screen that we looked at, I saw that there was a clear deficiency in the achievement of the fourth graders, and then in literacy, and similar in fifth grade for math. In other words, does that have anything to do with the pandemic, or is there something else that's going on?
I didn't do the math that far, Gary, but it's possible. A lot of things are possible.
Yeah.
It's comparing you to the rest of the state though, so
Yeah, I know. Let's see them.
they would have been susceptible to the same.
That's a good point, Joe. That's a good point. Okay. I don't have an answer to it. I'm just speculating.
What concerns me is I try to think a little bit farther out of the box, and we're seeing those low numbers and whatnot, and they drop. Who's driving the engine that's bringing us down? There's something in this, A person said to me one time, when will we ever get to just teach? Makes sense? We're being ate up by bureaucracy.
So one thing that I've shared with my staff a lot is that everybody in that building is working their tails off, right? But they've kind of been in their own canoe in a sense. And so everybody's working in their own canoe,
Right.
their tails off, and now we need to get in the same canoe and work in the same direction.
And I'm fairly confident that our staff is doing the best they
Yeah,
can.
they
I
are.
think they're being hindered.
I'm gonna try not to. I promise you that.
I'm not saying it's us, they're
Yeah.
being hindered outside.
Oh, there's absolutely decisions that are made by non-educators that definitely impact educators.
Well, I hope that we can see improvement, and I have no doubt that those who are asked to do that work are gonna do their very best. I just think that we have to monitor it more carefully, and if someone within the system is not being effective, we need to find a way to help them be more effective.
So I'll share this with you here, part of their action plan.
Yeah.
Their template that I
Yep.
asked them to work off of
Right.
includes, identifying how it is they're gonna measure the progress on that action plan and checkpoints for that. So they've determined those things.
That's good.
And I have no reason to think that they won't follow through on that. So,
Okay. Any other questions?
How often do they take the evaluations?
Fast Bridge are done, the screeners are done 3 times a year. And so they're
Fall, winter?
fall, winter, spring. Yep, so we're finishing our fall screeners right now.
Yeah, this report is from the spring.
Yep.
And they didn't get,
The data is from the spring, yes.
but we didn't get the reports until May. I understood they came in May, but they didn't have time to process them, and the principal was leaving, and, you know, nothing really happened much from the May report until now. Okay, anything else? Is that the end of the report?
That's the end of the data report.
Now, the rest of the report.
Not sure if you want me to keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay, my OCK doesn't just shut her shut. I don't know how to shut that off. Okay, I'll keep this part short, because I think I got long-winded. I think overall, we're off to a good start. It's weird to me that this is our first board meeting since kids came back. That's weird to me. But we are off to a really good start. One fun thing the varsity volleyball team started doing is they started seeking out a kid captain from our building. That basically is honored at the beginning of their home varsity game, and they're selected based on essentially stellar Bronco behavior. And so that's been kind of fun. I think we've had about three kid captains so far. We have 2 left to select. So those come through essentially nominations in one way, shape, or form from teachers. And so kids have been eating that up, and I love the partnership there. I do want to let you know that I think a month ago, our 4-year-old preschool numbers we thought were like leveled out, so we were good to go. I mean, we're still good to go. We figured it out. All of a sudden, our 4-year-old numbers spiked again, which is fantastic. We want that. So Peggy Nielsen is actually now going to teach morning 3-year-old and afternoon 4-year-old. So we actually have 3 sections of 4-year-old preschool, which I recognize was kind of what we talked about last spring before I joined, but they get the full half day and not just the hour, 2 hours, whatever that ended up being, whatever that initial proposal was. So that's working well. And with that, we also do have some extra slots in our afternoon sections, so we can continue to take a few more, probably about 10 more, to be honest. We just enrolled another one, I think yesterday or the day before, so that's exciting. We always want to see those little kiddos join us and then stick with us. Last month, I also shared that we are going full building launch with a curriculum called illustrative math. I can't say that word. IM is what we call it. But it's the same math curriculum that the junior high and high school implement, and so we're looking for that full vertical alignment. One piece that's very important to us is making sure that we support the implementation of that, and so we have partnered with the AEA to do that, and we feel pretty good now. We've got kind of a year-long plan in place with an AEA math guru that knows IM, so she'll be in to provide some professional development and some coaching. Amy Carlson, our instructional coach, is going to kind of be alongside her so that she can also build her capacity to be our kind of our internal expert there. So we're off and rolling there. I've also talked to you a little bit about letters, language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling, science of reading. We are moving forward with building up some leaders, I would say, in literacy. So our 2 title teachers, Christine Schultz and Lacey Krabby, as well as our instructional coach, Amy Carlson, and also one of our 2nd grade teachers has joined us along for the ride. Annabelle Cheezick they are going to go through the science of reading the letters training this year. They are signed up through the Department of Ed. And I've asked them ultimately with this that they're gonna kind of help me get an internal rollout plan going. So if we can get science of reading going next year for our staff, I truly do believe we can move those numbers with science of reading. But it's, as Jen says a lot, a marathon, not a sprint. So I'm not sure if next year is the year or not, but that's where we want to be. So I'm asking them to put together an intern, to be thinking about, and then we'll be meeting about how we can most effectively roll this out to our teachers without being too much, right? Because they also have a brand new math curriculum. So we're getting started there. We're working hard on beefing up our PLCs to be super data focused. You'll probably hear me talk about that a little bit more coming up in the coming months. And that's it.
Okay, just to clarify, we now have, make sure I understand, we have 3 fourth grade preschool classes,
Yeah,
4-year-olds.
sorry,
4-year-olds
yes,
and 1 3-year-old.
that's accurate, yes,
So Melissa has a morning and an afternoon 4-year-old.
correct.
And the afternoon is taught, the other afternoon 4-year-old is taught by Peggy. And then she has the 3-year-olds in the morning.
You've got it.
Lots of things to read to now.
I do. Well, I was wanting to make sure that I get scheduled for all of them, and I'm missing one. I'm missing the afternoon 4-year. So I will talk to Melissa. We're good. That's all I've got. Thank you, Haley.
Welcome.
Anybody else have questions for Haley? Non-CK's up. She's getting ready.
Mine always sounded better, so I noticed you might have sounded pretty better. Also, these people that you have hired, they like boxes and I don't like it.
She gets
She
so mad at us.
really
Is she
does
here to
not
grump?
like my
Is
box.
she just here grumping tonight?
Yeah, they always, everything has to be like you line things up and you write out, then they have to go and put it in boxes.
It is a problem.
And I'm like, what are you people doing? We don't need boxes all the time.
I need boxes.
There's something, no, I'm just kidding. So, anyway, I have the same data that, not the same data, but have the same, assessments that Haley used in ours as well, for the junior, senior high. Mine doesn't have fancy lines, mine just says, no boxes though. So anyway, like, we talked about the ISAF scores, those are the ones from the spring. If you look at our overall 7th and 8th grade, ELA scores, 61% were proficient, math, 61%. 9th through 11th was a little bit higher. And then 7th through 11th itself, ELA looks pretty good, 70% proficient and 63 in math. So we're working on those things. Individual grade efficiencies, we look there, some of those are kind of low, but again, we're working on some things. One thing that we have implemented this year is Bronco Pride, and Bronco Pride is at the end of the day, the last 30 minutes of the day, and what teachers do is they ask students to come to them during that time if they need extra, if they need reteaching or they need to do something different about the score that they got previously. So we're hoping that all standards get taught and retaught if they need to. So we're hoping these scores, that will help to increase our scores as well. So some of them don't, I mean, like 10th grade ELA, that looks really good. 85%, that's awesome. So, but they've been working hard. We have the illustrative math. We're in our 2nd year of that, just like elementary. So hopefully we're gonna see some improvement when the common language is throughout the whole system. This is similar to what Haley had. This is like the class of 2025, which is our seniors this year. So that is when they were 8th graders all the way up to when they were 11th graders. As 8th graders in ELA, they started at 74, and as 11th graders, they were 65 last year. So some growth, some up and downs, lots of up and downs. There's the 7th, well, then we are 8, 9, and 10th graders this year. Those scores right there, that matches. I don't know, some work we have to do. And my staff as well as Haley's are in it to win it, and we're gonna do what we can do to make sure that those scores go up. Fast testing, we also do that. We do it 7th through 11th. We're finishing our screening this fall as well. This is from last year. It's kind of small. Everybody's seen that? So sorry, it's pretty small. But again, that shows the spring a year ago into 23 to the spring of 24. So like the 7th graders were 56 this spring of 23 to 2040 in this spring of 24. We do not report this to the state, unlike Haley, her elementary reports fast to the state. We don't, but we take it just so we have another assessment. We all know that, and we've talked many times, that ISASC is a one-time shot. If you do good, perfect. If you don't, then that scores down. So we try and use a different assessment as well, or screener. and your 10th and 11th graders. 10th graders did much better on their ISATs and fast, but fast again is one time in a classroom. What's going on that day? Then I have my conditions of learning survey as well. This is the one we talked about, like Haley said. We talked about it many times last year that one no score brought us all down. But we still said that we still need to look at some things. So I just took a few things off of that. Everybody can see this report and get the Iowa School report card. And break it all down individually, I believe. McKenna, did you share this with the board? Okay. Well, if you want to see it closer up and look at it a little deeper, then I'll be more than happy to share it with you. If you look like this, again, it's the staff relations, staff to students relations, students to students relations, all that stuff. Your boundaries and expectations, they set, kids felt. We're not far off of what the Central Rivers or what the state says. I mean, some of them are several percentages off. Again, Bronco Pride, we're hoping that helps with that. High schoolers on Mondays have SEL lessons, and then on Wednesday, junior high have SEL lessons. And I think with the Bronco Prides, each teacher's assigned about 10 or 12 kids. So if we can build those relationships, one teacher has that 10 or 12 kids every day, and can build those relationships, I think some of this stuff will help. It also matches our collective commitments, if you remember that from last year. And, the cell phone only in the hallways, in between classes and at lunch. The no hats, no goods, that kind of stuff. No food, all that kind of stuff, and the commitments from the teachers. I mean, the kids have been doing really, really well with all that stuff, so we just been more consistent, and I think they feel that way too. So hopefully some of this, well, if we decide to do it, I don't know if we're gonna do it or not, but we do like this, hopefully it's improved. I mean, we're up in several of them from last year, so. Yeah, I'd be more happy to share this if somebody wants to, dig a little deeper into it, or you can, like I said, you get on the Iowa School report card and it shows all of them. Okay, questions about that? We too, on those first few days of school, met as a staff, took your goals and then we set some goals. We had academic goals and cultural goals that we wanted to work on as a staff with our students. And the two that we came up with for the culture were committing to emphasizing increase in student-student relationships, and then to ensure that all students experience consistent application of rules and consequences throughout the year. And then our action steps are there. We look at them in collaboration, which is every Thursday. We may not look at each of them every Thursday, but that's how we're checking ourselves, making sure that we're doing, working our way towards the action steps and meeting that goal. So those are the culture goals. Then we have the academic goals. And our academic goals based off of ISAFs in order to increase ISAF scores all across the content areas of focus on the domain-specific vocabulary and all the subjects. They talked about different vocabulary that they know that we can actually see that are on ISAFs so that we can use those things. Committed to using daily intervention time, which is at Bronco Pride, tied into individual teaching and reteaching, which we're going strong on that one. Teachers appreciate that, kids actually appreciate that, and they can go and get their stuff done. The attendance committee will meet and develop systems for addressing chronic absenteeism. As you know, at the beginning of the school year, Jen shared out the letter that we sent to families about absenteeism and being absent, and we only have just absent, not excused or unexcused. I have to say that our attendance is a little bit better than it was a year ago this time. So that's always good. I mean, kids actually think, well, should I go to do this because it's going to be absent? So they're really thinking about it. So that's a huge thing. I think that's the whole thing. We all were getting up more that this was going to be a bad thing and all that, but I think it's actually turned out to be kind of a positive in some ways. So questions about those? One thing we are doing We are having our instructional coaches this year do coaching cycles. They haven't done that in the past as much, but we're requiring them to do them for everybody that's going to be evaluated next year. That way, then they can get in there, we can see what some of the things are going, and we can help teachers. You know, those teachers that you say that maybe have maybe a little bit of trouble trying to get something across, so we have those coaches, that's what we have them for. We'll get them in the rooms, and anybody else that wants to have a coaching cycle can have one as well. So I think that's going to be a big thing that we're gonna do this year.
I'd love that in elementary.
And then, another thing we were, you know, with these scores, and we talked about vertical alignment, we actually met with Amy and Justin this morning, and we talked about how we could do that in all of our core areas. So we're trying to figure out standards and how they can sit down at least once every so many months or EVs or whatever, and look at that and see, what are we missing between first and second grade? What are we missing between, I think the biggest thing is between sixth and seventh grade. You know, when they go from that building to this building, there's some things that maybe we miss. So we're gonna start having those conversations, which we've tried to do for a long time, but I really think it's gonna come to reality, yeah. Any other questions? Any questions?
Well, it seems to me that there are really two components. One is to have a method by which you can evaluate, and then the second one is the accountability. Both on the part of the students, which we talk about testing, but then the accountability for the staff person, so that we're all working together. And if we need help, we get the help. Because I think sometimes we all in every profession have a tendency that if we're not good at something, we just don't. That's what, and we don't worry about it and let it slide. And I think that that's the way in which we can be accountable as well as help each other with our jobs. Okay. Any other questions? So we got that part. Anything else you want to tell us tonight?
Homecoming's coming. Ooh.
She sounds so excited. Every high school principal's dream.
That means TP's coming, so just so you're all ready. Anyway, so homecoming will be the week of the 30th. We have switched things around a little bit. We usually have a parade in the afternoon on Friday, and then we have a pep rally, and we do all that kind of stuff on Thursday night. Well, this year, no school on Friday. So we decided we need to change some things up a little bit. We are going to have a parade on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. We have invited the community, any businesses or anybody that wants to put a float together to join us. I think that, and actually, I think that Ronnie, who works for Belmont Growth Alliance, sent out an email today, and we had 3 or 4 contact Callie right away that they wanted to be part of that. Students are decorating, our classes are decorating floats if they want to. That's up to them. We're not requiring anybody to do it since it's after school hours. They're going to decorate the hallways. And yeah, so that's coming, and we have our court, and the pictures taken. You can see them in the paper next week. That's exciting.
You're gonna have the comedy skits and all?
No, I don't think so. Unless you want to come get it ready.
No. I thought you were gonna be one of them.
I'm a comedy every day. You never know what might happen. I have some high school boys that are. We have a great time. We always have a great time. We had a victory on the football field on Friday night.
Yes.
That was super exciting for everybody and coaches and kids, and they needed that little bit of a boost. Esports is 2-0. It's smash throws, I believe. And volleyball's doing very well. So off to a good, and cross country girls, first at West Fork the other night.
Really?
Yes. 5 in the top 10. Good. So they were all excited the next day when they came. And,
Wow.
yeah. I'm not going to tell all the facts, but yes, they did a very good job.
That's pretty darn good. We've been struggling for a long time.
Yeah, so they did, and that, like I said, they needed that too. So FFA is going good, and NHS, actually back to the homecoming thing, I think NHS is going to do a fundraiser. If you want to pay $25, they'll come clean your yard up after PP. And if you're
Clarion did that, it was very
Did they?
successful.
yeah, and if you're fortunate enough to get it all 4 nights, that would be at my house, you can pay them twice. and they'll come clean up 2 times because it takes 2 times to clean it up. So, but that'll be exciting. Oh, Gary, you just come on by and look.
Oh, I thought you might be combined for some TV.
Well, no, I wouldn't be able to tell that you did it. I can do
Yeah,
it
there's a
then.
supply chain problem. There's no TV in town anymore.
There's probably not.
I don't know what happened to it.
So that's all I have. Is there questions? Anything?
Good.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Moving along.
Okay. So they've been talking about kind of the goals that they set with their staff. I've been working with the district leadership team, kind of talking about, together we make a difference and the different values that commitments that we're going to make. And I thought it might be good for us as a board to kind of talk about what that might look like for us. If we are doing these things to make sure we're all working together. And one of the things that we really focused on with the district leadership team that I thought might be good to talk about here is this assume a positive intent. And so some of the things underneath it is giving the benefit of the doubt, staying calm and open-minded, reflect before acting, consider proactive solutions, and provide feedback. And so I'll open it to you guys. What do you think would be some things that we as a board could do to make sure that we're showing those commitments?
I'm waiting. Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I did talk to McKenna. We're gonna figure out a way for you guys to have that in front of you every time we have a board meeting.
it's a good.
Wanna look it up again?
You sent this to us.
I did.
I'm gonna go find it.
I think a big one, the reflect before reacting, I think with a lot of, people from the community coming to say, why did you do this? Why are you changing this? I think we need to, as a board, we need to reflect about and think about why did we change that? Why did we make that decision before we react to what they're saying? Because it would be easy for them to say, well, that board says whatever they want. But we need to think about why did we make that decision and make sure that we are open and honest with them about it and giving them the true reason why we made that decision, and it was the best interest of kids, and we were, trying to build our district, whatever that reason would be. So,
Yeah, almost more transparency.
Right, more transparency.
Have the decisions are made.
One of the things that I understand has been discussed is the relationship between our board and our cabinet, our staff. And that, are there ways that you can think of that we can do a better job of relating to and making our staff feel that this board, we sit in this meeting once a month. They don't hear a whole lot from us. And we have those beginning of the year and the end of the year celebrations, but nothing happens in between. And sometimes encouragement, kudos, is helpful, and I think maybe the encouragement that our staff can use to do even better. Just a thought. I don't have the idea of what it could be. But, I remember, I remember a time when there were celebrations, staff and board members met together. We would have something to eat. We'd have a soda pop or something, and just celebrate being and getting to know one another. There are a lot of people on my staff that I do not know. I'm not gonna kid you. Maybe my two principals and my superintendent, but I don't. And there's a lot of new ones that I have not met yet. And I'm saying, can we find a way that we can do that? And I don't know when we do that, because you see, they all have their own personal time, and we could find a time to do that maybe once a quarter, or maybe twice a year. I'm just finding ways that we can make this feel more valuable to us and to our students by making them feel welcome and let them know that we do care and that we have their best interests at our home. Because they're the ones that are delivering the goods. They're the ones that are teaching my children. And we need to let them know that we really do care what happens in their world, their life. So that's
In regards to that,
yes, James.
first we need to decide what we're gonna do. And then once we've decided that, and you brought it up.
Yep.
We're all busy.
We are all busy, absolutely.
In the relationship to that, it almost needs to be something that we do more than once, so it fits all staff's time.
I was, no, at the school board conference last year, in the board president meeting the day after, there was a school who did, there's coffee with the cop, where you can go in and sit down and talk to the cops or whoever. They did something like that with their board. It would be 2 board members, or 3, obviously, to not have a quorum. And teachers, staff, whoever, even parents could come in and talk with them. And it might be, 3 of you this month because you could be there. It might be us 3 the next month. And at first when they started talking about it, we were like, how can you do that if you're gonna have a quorum? How can you do that? But they always made sure that they kept it under the number. And they said it was very well received.
What strikes me off is Gary brings this up, but he doesn't bring up the fact that we should be food.
Yes, I know. I assume that. You know I don't get together unless I expect them to food together.
Snacks are always part of the
Anybody
conversation.
knows me, I gotta have something to chew on.
So anyway, that was just a thought that they had that worked really well for them.
Well, my thinking, and I truly appreciate our educators, our custodians, our bus drivers, all of them. Our 2 principals and our super could relay things for us. Sometimes I don't need to know who's thanking me. Just another thing. You know what I'm saying? Little note in the card. Pretty simple, Our coaches had a good year, so give me a nice card and say, hey, appreciate all you did for the kids. Simple things like that speak a lot of words. I don't think we have that. Food's good here. What you say?
Food and drinks. Yeah. Hey, that's always gotta be a good thing. I don't care what it is. We have something this fall. That's good. And it wasn't designed for that necessarily. But you remember, we all came and had burgers or hot dogs. We didn't have to have all. We just came because it was a good presentation. I'm just thinking about that as a format for something. But the invitation goes to the staff. If the committee shows up, it's public. It's not my problem. I just think you get a notice, we're having a public meeting. And tell them who's coming, we're gonna be there. We invite the staff to come and share some time with us. And we can tell us really 2 minutes talking. We say, well, we're glad you're here. We want to say thank you for all your hard work. And decide if we want to give you something to drink and something to eat. And we really do appreciate what you do for our kids. And I think a lot of times teachers don't realize that we know. We don't pay them very well. They're one of the poorest paid professions other than divinity students that are paid in America. Teachers and preachers are some of the poorest paid professional people. And so what you do instead of giving them money when the state won't give you the funds to pay them better, at least give them your thanks and your appreciation. I don't appreciate it, but I just think that's something that we need to do.
Any other
I'm
comments?
sorry, that was a long.
That's okay.
dissertation.
Comments or thoughts or
I'm sorry, I blew that out.
No, you're good. We'll have, McKenna will start putting this as part of our agenda each time so that you guys have that in front of you. Just to kind of as a good reminder as we get things started. So, so thanks for that sharing. The only other thing I was gonna tell you about that I just think is kind of fun is, I'm gonna be doing a book study with, I think I have 11 staff members now that are signed up to do it. It's called, it's for the book, What Happened to You? I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but Dr. Perry and Oprah Winfrey wrote it together. Dr. Perry's a neuroscientist and a psychiatrist. And he has done a lot of research on how the brain is impacted by trauma and how it actually alters the brain chemistry, how it, a child that is surrounded by trauma as young as newborn and how that impacts them for the rest of their life, and also how you can help build resiliency in kids that have gone through trauma or are not going through trauma to help them have a more successful life. So we're offering it for license renewal credit. We're doing it all after hours, but I'm kind of excited. There's 11 staff members that are going to be doing it with me, and I'm kind of excited about the opportunity to get to know those staff members in kind of a different format. So that'll be fun. We'll start next. If you can get Oprah here, I'm all about it.
You'd have more than 10 people.
I would have more than 10 people, that's for sure. All of a sudden, everybody would want to read that book. So.
Anything else? Okay, we're gonna move on to our annual meeting. We're gonna review the board treasurer's report and accounting books for fiscal year 23-24. Are you gonna say something to us, Teresa?
I will, but I feel like I'm kind of hidden behind you. It feels awkward.
You
So
are.
if I-
You
Can I-
are hidden.
I'll
Oh,
sit
yeah, take
here.
it.
Thank you. Okay, so, when you're looking at this first report, what it's really just showing you are the cash balances as of 6/30. Oops, they fall over. The biggest thing to know about this, so it does come directly out of our accounting software. The biggest thing probably to know is that in that variance columns, there are zeros, and that means that every single penny that went out the door is accounted for. Outside of that, really truly, there's not a whole heck of a lot to get out of there besides just seeing what the balances themselves are. Each of the individual transactions, you're approving those at every meeting, you're approving them every time you approve a contract. So, but you are bound by Iowa law to review this and see that it's done.
Any questions or comments about that report? I need a motion to approve. I need a second.
Second.
Second. Motion made and second. Any other comments or questions? Not all in favor, approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Moving on to our depositories. You notice there's a change in our resolution this year, a slight change. We had a change. First State Bank, the maximum balance for each is 8 million. Greenbelt has been raised from 500,000 to $1 million, and of course, there's this ISJIT stays the same at 8 million. I didn't ask the question, and I am now. We raised the Greenbelt from 500 to $1 million for something. You must have more money.
So, well, no, not really. The idea is that as interest rates change, if they happen to be offering some kind of better CD rate or something, I just want the flexibility to be able to do whatever's in the best interest of the district at that time. So it's just it just gives us the ability to make changes quickly if we need to.
Okay, I need a motion to approve. James, second. Ryan, any discussion about the resolution for depositories? I don't need roll call.
I like that.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Gary Berglund,
Aye.
Joel Boozman,
Aye.
Rick McDaniel, Brian Meyer.
Aye.
Michelle Murphy,
Aye.
Kevin Ring,
Aye.
Jim Swenson.
Aye. Okay, the resolution is adopted. moving on to the appointment of our school board attorney. As you'll note, there's a nice soliloquy there about Ann Smeezak. She's done a really good job for several years. I've talked with her several times. She does a good job at our superintendent, and occasionally me. And the recommendation for superintendent is that we appoint Ann Smeezak again. The all is lawful in my motion. Do we have a second? Second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Next, we need a representative to the IASB Delegate Assembly if somebody is willing to volunteer. I'm not going either, so I'm not gonna phone it in from Morocco. That's not gonna happen. We're not required, as you saw. But if anybody wants to be, and is not willing to put your fingers up tonight, the first one that calls gets the job. But you gotta call it Belmond Klemme. Okay? Okay, that's done. Moving on. We killed that one, that horse. Okay, next we're moving on to the action items. The annual transportation report. You have that in front of you. Yeah, there it is. I assume that our transportation director has assembled that. If you notice, there's a drop in cost. And even though and miles went down a little bit, but it's a report. We have to submit it to the state. So I need a motion to approve the transportation report. Ryan, second. James, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion carried. The certified annual report, that one next happens to do with allowable growth, is that correct?
No, but I appreciate that you tried on there. This one is the, it's,
Oh, that's the next one.
the next one. See, you're just ahead of us. You're in such a
Special
hurry.
ed. Oh, yeah.
So the certified annual report, I always say this with a bit of a disclaimer because we're always in such a tight timeline with September. This actually was submitted on Monday, and this is the tightest year we've ever had because there are a few things that I need from our auditor to do this. So literally Monday afternoon, I'm sitting there watching my email and refreshing it. And Jen pitched in a lot on this because anytime I walked into a room and said, could you please tell me it's all gonna be okay? She said, it's all gonna be okay. And she said it with so much confidence that I calmed down.
So you sent this in without anybody's report, approval.
That's correct, and I always do, and I will continue to do that.
But I can't put CAR, C-A-R, to the report. There's nothing in the title that says CAR.
Certified annual report.
Where?
7A2, certified annual report, CAR in parentheses. Attachments, number 1, treasurer's report by fund, fiscal year 24. Yeah, it's, I'm not sure if there's as
I don't
much.
have it. I can't even say it right if I don't have it.
Are you gonna even let me talk about it though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 seconds.
Okay, fine. So this is a summary of everything that we do all year. As you look across those fund balances, you will notice that the only one that dropped is the general fund. Generally speaking, we want balances to go up, so that's a good thing. The general fund, part of the reason we see that go down is because we do spend above and beyond what we get for funding for the special ed and for the EL programs. I think I'm past my 2 seconds, so.
Anybody have questions? I need a motion to approve. James, I need a second. Joel, any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Now we have special ed supplement.
We do, yes. And so when you look at that report, you can see a comparison between fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. We do have some variations there between what actually was coming in as revenue, what came in as expenditures. but they pretty well netted each other out. So we don't see a large difference between last year and the current year on the deficit.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the special ed supplement.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'll second.
Kevin, any discussion? If you keep track of that one number there, FY '24 total, we're gonna talk about that very next time going. So just pick up on that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those nays? Motion's carried. Now we get to allowable growth request.
Yes.
That's the one I was most worried about anyway.
This is a big one, so I'm glad
It is
you are
big.
concerned about it. So, you probably get used to me talking about our spending authority a little bit. We are limited by the law on how much we can actually spend to educate kids. For the most part, we're not allowed to make any adjustments to that. But special education is its own budget within the rest of the school budget, and it operates a little bit differently. We are able to exceed the funds that we bring in through that funding formula. So what this does is it allows us to best serve any of the kiddos who are in that special education program, but without taking that money out of the regular classroom to do that. It increases our spending authority. That's a great thing. We absolutely want to recoup those costs. One point I do like to make, because sometimes when people see this, they think that it means we are levying cash for this. We talk about the budget in the spring. Right now, we are not talking about taxes at all. We're actually limited on how much cash we can bring in, so we can't bring it all in anyway. But what this does is it allows us to increase that spending authority. Any questions related to this?
So you can vote for this. And that's what we want. Need a motion. That's it. James, need a second. Joel, any further discussion on the allable growth request? Not all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those nay? Motion is carried. Moving on
Just
to,
one more comment on that, Gary. The state will make me upload minutes to show that you did approve that. All right. Even though it's after the fact.
let's say, how come you didn't send your minute? Oh, we forgot.
They do contact you if you miss it. It's a big deal.
Yeah, because we don't want to be short that availability.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on, policy, purchasing and bidding. You may remember last time we talked about this. We discussed about what we wanted to see in this amended policy, 705.1, purchasing and bidding. Look at it carefully. If you'll notice, we've raised the ability, the superintendent could spend, so it used to be 25,000. Now we're moving it up to 195,999 with later approval, but prior approval, 50,000. Was 2,500 to 50. Go up to the 195, they have to get comparable bids and quotes, not bids, quotes. That gives them a lot of stuff we buy costs more than $25,000. She shouldn't have to be hamstrung waiting for us to have a meeting so we can say, yeah, go ahead and spend the money. That's what the foolishness is. So I need a motion to approve that modification to our policies. Ryan, second. Second, Michelle. Any discussion? Not all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion is carried. Moving on, track proposal.
So this is actually a proposal for the engineer that's going to lead the work for the track. So Teresa and I met with Larson, his name's Michael Murphy, we met with him. And every time I get an email from him, Michelle, I think it's you because it's Michael Murphy. Anyway.
I thought it was you.
I know, every time I look at it twice.
What's Michelle doing?
So I did, when I got the bid, I did some calling around just to kind of check. And the reason that we need to have an engineer is because we do have to take the track down to the base. So they'll come in, they'll do geological studies, topographical studies, just to make sure that what we put down is gonna last us longer and we won't be in the same position. that we're in now. They also will lead, the bidding process and do all of that kind of thing for us as well.
So the price tag, as you can see, public's gonna find out soon enough, so let's just tell them. It's gonna be what, 46?
46.7, I think.
Right on, $46,700
For the engineer.
Yes, that's for Larson.
Regardless of the scope of the project, or
Yeah, at this point, this is just to get us ready for the project, and then we're gonna decide what we wanna do after they give us the recommendations. That's the topographical, the geotechnical, preliminary design, construction, bidding. If you'll notice the rate of pay for the engineer. Bottom of the page. Dictates that
Have what?
The engineer.
So what I did is I called a couple of other people and I just said, is this something that we need to do or not? And they said that if we were just resurfacing the track, we would not. But because we're taking it down to the base and the condition of the track, we need to have those extra studies done to make sure that we are handling it the right way.
Well, somebody planned that. Is it the state that says we have to do this, or is it, for lack of better words, group of school wellness that plan on this because they've done this?
When you
I'm
say
looking
this,
for a legal thing about it.
yeah, there's not a legal thing. It's not a legal piece.
It's not required, but it's just prudent.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's what I'm looking for, but I'd like to know who says it has to be proven.
Well, probably just that we want to make sure we spend the money that doesn't fall apart. I mean, if we don't do it right, I
Right.
think that's probably what it is.
Do you
Yeah,
mind
like
if I
Brad
add just a
said.
couple
No,
more
I don't,
cents?
Matt.
So part of what's happening here is the entire cost of getting all of those surveys, all of the checking the soil, everything that they do is all included on this
Right.
one proposal.
Yeah.
We would have to do those pieces whether or not we work with this
Right.
organization. Some of the difference that we see here versus projects we've done in the past is instead of paying 9% of whatever the total is, that's already in this.
Right.
So it honestly kind of gave us a little bit of sticker shock
It
when
did.
we saw it, and we did a little bit of digging in, a lot of calling around, talked to other companies and found out, oh, this is just
Pretty standard.
what it is.
Yep.
If we were to hire a contractor right away to do this, they would have this fee in
They
there.
got to do also.
So it has to be done more.
They gotta hire somebody to do it.
Right.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Yep, you'd still need the survey, you'd still need the preliminary drawings, you still need the plans, and then you're still going to have to pay them for that service. So there's, it's whether, there aren't really a lot of options there.
And this comes with a recommendation for doing tracks.
Yes.
I mean, these aren't just willy-nilly picking somebody out of the air. They have a specialty doing tracks. And that's why we want to dig down that 6 feet to make sure we've got a rock base, or the solid base, or a track muscle doesn't crack every 3 years. He said it's what good for 3 years, well, maybe.
Well, this is to find out the conditions.
Exactly.
We're
We don't
looking-
know what we're
We don't
gonna
know,
have to do
we're
now.
looking at yet.
Right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
What's that?
so we might not be able to put it there.
Yeah, you never know, or it might be more extensive than,
Right.
or who knows what.
Yeah, remember, this city is built on sand. The hill is clay. This part of the city is basically river overflow.
When was the last time this was done?
I don't know, I know.
What, 6 years ago, there was a lift put on it,
Yeah.
but when it was actually
I mean,
updated, it was Al Olson was the superintendent.
Yeah. We had a cinder
40
track.
years ago.
I remember when we had a cinder track, and then we put in a new track. That was the first time. So I'm gonna guess in late 70s. 80s, maybe early 80s.
It's certainly well.
Yeah, it's been a
Really
it's been a
fast.
pretty good. A bit of repair, upgrade, it's really good. Okay, any other comments or discussion before we move on to?
this is for the underneath, regardless of the size. I heard tonight.
Whether it's 6 or
Yeah.
6 or 8, we don't know
That's
that.
really not gonna be.
We don't know what's gonna get moved, that's all, let's get to meet the truck.
Yeah.
We'll take it that more seriously. I need a motion to approve this contract with us. James, second.
Second.
Brian, any other discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Now we get to the easy one. The November board meeting, I do not know why we have to move it a full week, but, that means I will have to be here. Right, it's not due to the meeting. I'm leaving the 18th.
So the meeting's on the 17th?
No, it's gonna be on the
14th.
That's what I see.
I need a motion to move the meeting to the 14th of November.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Second, Kevin. Any discussion? That's fine. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Thought you were getting out.
I thought I was getting out. I really did. The motion is approved. Okay, board and superintendent goals. We have a thorough study. Look at those things. I'll leave it up to you, Jen. We talked about all this stuff. Remember all this stuff?
Yeah, is this where we're supposed to go into closed session?
No, not yet.
Okay,
We're just gonna review the goals. Then we'll go into closed session.
Gotcha. okay. Yes, so you should all have those in there. So, I put my goals and then I put the different standards as far as, the school leader standards. Hold on a second.
Right.
And then underneath each one of those standards would be the tasks that I would be doing that would align with each of those standards. And if you remember, Lou said that because it's my first year, we have to do, I'm evaluated on all 10 standards for this year. So you kind of see some of the different activities that I'm doing currently, and I'll continue to add to this as things happen. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering what goes with what standard, but you kind of see there what are some of the things that I've been doing. What we'll be doing.
I hope you've all had a chance to kind of review. Actually, this took more time than I thought it might, to go through each of the 10 goals, and then to look at the tasks and to determine what would be useful in achieving those goals. And then, of course, we're going to do that evaluation quarterly, every 3 months, and this is now the 3rd month. But tonight, we're not going to do an evaluation, except maybe by comment or the closed session. But the reality is, this is the first time I've looked at this particular set of goals and tasks. The key are the tasks, but that's the accountability portion. Make sense? So you have your goal in yellow, you have the task, or the goal. And then
The standards in yellow, and then the tasks are under.
follow that. And then we have that for all 10. And we cover a broad array of activities we expect our Jen to do on behalf of our district. Now, I think it would be appropriate, if you had read them, to approve them. These are Jen's proposals, and we are the ones that are going to be looking at them on a regular basis quarterly. And then we'll do an evaluation, and we will give her our feedback. We'll do our evaluation based upon this particular set. Any questions? Let's walk through it. Maybe that's.
Yeah, so if you look at the top, the 3 goals are, each one of my goals are based on the 3 goals that were decided on when we met with Lou this summer. So culture and climate is one, facilities is another, and then instructional practices. So those are the goals that I've set, and then underneath, like standard 1, mission, vision, some of the things that tasks are, doing listening sessions with board members, community members, developing board goals, working with principals on their professional development goals. So those are some of the things within that standard. Standard 2, being transparent in my decision making, analyzing trends and data, welcome back speech introducing my values and vision, reviewing the handbooks. So that's number 2. Number 3 is equity and cultural responsiveness. So having listening sessions, I think at this point I've met with maybe 80 staff members. Analyzing data, making sure that communication is in both in English and Spanish. Reviewing our LOU plan, our district developed service delivery plan. Let's see. Ensure translation services are consistently available. We've got a really good system in place for that, so that's been awesome. Standard 4 is curriculum assessment and instruction. Determining what our current curriculums are, evaluating consistency of implementation, and conducting walkthroughs in the classroom. Standard 5, community of care and support for students. So that's promoting the Together We Make a Difference, working with principals to develop connections across district personnel, working closely with the newspaper to help promote students and their success, continuing to work with Willow Sweeney, ensuring a welcoming greeting at each attendance center. I have to say, I just want to make a comment about that. It's so fun to be at the elementary school in the morning. I was telling them the other day, if I was dropping my child off at that school, I would be just feeling like I was dropping them at a place where I knew they were going to be loved all day. So I just thought that was awesome. I have.
She just gets enough like.
They know that they're loved here.
I know. I had somebody tell, I told you I was waiting there one day and one kid said that they were waiting for Jesus. I didn't think it was you though, that they were waiting.
Well, you never know.
She said, what are you waiting for? She goes, I'm waiting for Jesus. Riding the bus routes.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. That's been pretty fun. I've actually also been doing some checking out what's going on at the bus stops too. So sending postcards, note cards, emails, just those kinds of things. When I see good things happening, I try to make sure that I acknowledge those. Professional capacity of school personnel. One of the things I do is I meet weekly with the directors and the principals to make sure that we are always in constant communication. Having regular interactions with staff, meeting regularly with TLC, and determining steps for creating a strategic plan for the district. And that's one of the things I'm working on now. So, professional community for teachers and staff is standard 7. Sending out the questionnaire, that I sent out, getting staff input and having listening sessions. In the spring, I want to send out another feedback form to just determine what the continuing needs are, and then still meeting one-on-one with directors and administrators. Standard 8, meaningful engagement with families and communities, participating in the Belmont Growth Alliance, attending city council meetings. So far, I've been able to be at one for Goodell and one for Klemme. Problem is that Klemme, Rowan, and Belmont all have their their city council meetings on the same night. So, and then this month with Labor Day kind of threw off the very first one. So I'm still working with that. Meeting one-on-one with city administrators. I've had a chance to sit down and visit with Cody. So that's been good. SIAC meetings, meeting with Lee over there, attending extracurricular events, and then meeting with our state legislators, which I met with one of them last week. Or no, this week.
This week, yeah.
Just this week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Operations and management, analyzing current reality involving processes, protocols, and needs. We've been kind of working through that. And then problem-solving sessions to develop some root causes of some concerns that we might have. School improvement, working with the school board again to do district goals, working with building administrators to do goals, and then continuing with those walkthroughs.
So, as you can see, that's a rather intensive review of activities. And if she gets through half of those this year, I just think that is a lot of stuff to be doing. Okay, questions that you have about the 10 standards that we're talking about, that we're trying to have our superintendent be accountable for on a regular basis. Comments?
I'm exhausted just listening to that. You said more than one of you, like 1 or so.
You can't do not fall asleep. She was perky turkey. Okay, if not, I need a motion to approve them for the Belmond Klemme Community School District. Motion, James, second Joel. Any other discussion before we approve this? None? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Passed. Good work. Moving on. Now we get to discussion. So all of you are, I assume, going to the convention. I hope you do. I've encouraged you last time. I'll say it again. I will not be there, but I will be doing my work in Africa. So you think you get lots of schools?
Yeah, you will. Are you gonna go read to children on the
No, I can't read it. I can't read in Arabic, French, or Spanish, because they speak all three languages. But I will be seeing little Isak, who is the son of my daughter's housekeeper. Little Isak comes with his mother to the house, and she does the cleaning. So Isak has his little place where he plays, and plays with the cat and the kitty. And so he's learning a little bit of English, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so I've given you my encouragement. Do note, you've got to let Kenna know so she can get you good lodging and get you registered, because it costs money to get you registered.
And kind of when do you need to know why?
I would like to know. We're offering registration.
Okay, so 10:15.
And I'll send out.
Okay, there you go. You all need Friday. Okay. Where am I? Okay. I'm looking for your comments about future planning for the agenda and other comments before we go into closed session. Anything you think we ought to be doing here? I would encourage that at our next meeting, we see some kids.
I agree.
I like to hear reports from kids. I just think that that's good for them. They get a chance to speak, and we get to hear them, and that gets us all fired up here.
Are we gonna have student board members?
One who will already. Who was the other one?
Yeah. Sure. Be nice if they, is Will a senior?
I was thinking, is Michaela a senior too? I was thinking maybe we might try a third one that's a junior and then.
In some school districts, they only have people that are juniors, juniors or sophomores and freshmen, because the seniors are on the way up. It has less impact upon their lives as it does. So maybe this getting real and if they're willing, and then a junior would. I like the input. And Will was really outspoken. That was helpful to us as a board to have student representation here. See what we can do. Any other comments or suggestions for our meetings? If not, I need a motion to go to closed session for purposes of personnel evaluation. Ryan, we'll have a second.
I'll second it.
Second, I'll have a vote. Roll call, please.
Harry Bertland,
Aye.
Joel Boozman.
Aye.
Rick McDaniel, Ryan Meyer.
Aye.
Michelle Murphy,
Aye.
Kevin Rain,
Aye.
Jim Swenson.
Okay, we'll go in closed session. We'll have an adjournment right now for purpose of this break. I'm going to the restroom. Folks can leave.